At T-Mobile for Business, unconventional thinking means we see things differently, so you can focus on what matters most. That's why we've become the leader in 5G, #1 in customer satisfaction, and a partner who includes 5G in every plan, so you get it all. Unconventional thinking is better for business. Open Signal awards T-Mobile as America's fastest 5G network USA. 5G user experience report July 2021. Capable device required. Coverage not available in some areas. Some uses may require certain plan or features. See T-Mobile.com. For JD Power 2020 award information, visit jdpower.com/awards.
Welcome to the Oh Hell No podcast, where I, Keisha Nicole, delivers a daily dose of passion, purpose, and struggle by interviewing people who are living their best life doing what they love. Here on this podcast, every Oh Hell No moment serves a purpose. Now let's get started with the show. All right, so welcome to another episode of the Oh Hell No podcast. Tonight I have Randy Rolfe. Randy is a family therapist. She's a nutritionist, a lifestyle expert, best-selling author, speaker, and radio host. She's been featured in magazines, newspapers, and she's been on some of our favorite, talk shows. So welcome to the Oh Hell No podcast, Randy. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, my pleasure, Keisha. Is that how I say your name?
Yes, Keisha.
Okay.
Yeah. So how are you doing? How are you feeling?
Great.
Good.
I love my life and I love helping people.
Awesome. So I want to start by asking you, what made you want to become an attorney and how long did you practice law for?
Oh, that's an interesting question. What got me interested in law was actually in high school when I learned about the Constitution, and I thought it was really exciting that there was a basic law to the country. And I also had experiences in my family. There were family feuds, a lot of drinking in my childhood home, and people were always saying, "Oh, we'll sue you," and all this stuff. And I thought, I need to know more about the law and how to solve problems. And so I decided to become a lawyer to learn, what were the rules of engagement. And so I also thought maybe I could become an international diplomat and try to make peace in the world, because it was during the Cold War and I studied international relations and Russian affairs in college. So I was very excited to get into law, but I was with a large corporate firm and it just wasn't the lifestyle or it didn't feel like I was really doing anything valuable either, just helping corporations fight each other. So I just practiced with that big firm for about 3 years. And then I kind of did it on the side for a while. I worked on a federal grant on legal effects of pollution in Philadelphia. And so on and off, I was doing law for quite a while. But then I got into other things.
Okay. So I want to go into your family therapy career next, but I kind of want to ask what followed law? Like, was law the first thing that you went into and then the other things kind of unfolded?
Yes, exactly. I married my college sweetheart and he was becoming a lawyer at the time. And so we both had commuting jobs into Philadelphia, working for firms. And it was the 60s, and we just felt like that we wanted to do something more meaningful. And I had an uncle who lived off the land, had a famous organic garden. And so we went and visited him and looked at his lifestyle, and that led us to buying an old broken down farmhouse in upstate New York near the Canadian border and trying to homestead for 4 years. So that's where both of our children were born. And we just loved it, living simply and raising our babies as naturally as possible. And people started asking me, how come things are going so well for you and your kids? And I said, well, I can give you some pointers. So that's how it all started. People were asking me, why are your kids so happy? And why don't you have to do a whole lot of discipline? And I thought, wow, we're on to something here.
Wow. So do you think that that is because of the simple life and the nutrition, or do you think that it was like a bunch of other things?
Well, I think it was a lot about our attitude. We waited before we had our children. Like I said, we were practicing law, and then we started putting this house back together. And we really wanted to do things as natural as possible. So my first rule is to trust your baby. Babies, they've been born for a couple million years, and they kind of know what they need. And so if you pay attention to that parent-child bond, other things emerge, and keep trying to keep it as natural as possible is what we were doing. So it was a philosophy, and then trying to eat organically and live lightly on the planet, in the environment. It all kind of fit together, like you said.
So you got into nutrition, you decided to go and get your certification or whatever it is that you have to get when you become a nutritionist. Did you become like a full-blown nutritionist, or did you just like get some, I don't know what you do when you want to get into nutrition?
Sure. Yeah, I read hundreds of books. I've read hundreds of books on nutrition, and that's where I started. I'm just like, well, there ought to be some good books on how to stay healthy 100 years. But there was a lot of conflict, a lot of misinformation. And so I started looking for mentors. And in upstate New York, there were a number of mentors. I even went to Toronto to a conference with someone whose book I'd read. And when we went broke. We ran out of money. My husband had a little law practice up there, and the recession hit, and his young practice died. So we came back to Philadelphia, and so I decided to get certified. So I'd made sure I didn't miss anything along the way in my self-education in nutrition. So I got certified in a wonderful clinic by one of my top mentors. He was a dentist as well as a nutritionist. And so I was certified in applied clinical nutrition and started teaching at his clinic and teaching courses in local colleges around and universities around Philadelphia.
Wow. Okay. All right. So give us some tips about dieting and what we can do now that we've all gained this COVID weight and everyone is trying to figure out the best way to take it off. What would you say is something simple and attainable? Because I think that's the thing, is that so many things seem so challenging and so hard when you're trying to take off weight.
Yeah, sure. In these times, particularly emotional and stress eating is a huge thing. Plus, the refrigerator and the snack pantry is all right there all day if you're working from home, and for your kids too. For us, we stayed with our normal routine, which I think is one key. And I actually lost weight. I lost 10 pounds because we weren't going out to a Thursday night bar for a beer, and we weren't going out to dinner once or twice a week. We were just eating at home, and we both lost about 10 pounds in the first 3 or 4 months. And we've kept it off because we're still pretty much working from home, doing a lot of Zooms, of course, and writing. But so the first thing is to just stick with your routine and find other ways to deal with your stress. Drink water before you eat anything, because most people mistake thirst as hunger. That's very common among Americans. And so drink a glass of water before you go for food and before each meal, so you can stay hydrated. And that's really important for mood and stress response too. You really need to stay hydrated. And so drinking water, staying with your usual routine. Protein for breakfast is really important because that balances out your moods for the day. So your energy isn't going to drop, because your body can get energy from protein on a consistent basis. So don't just have that donut in the morning. Have some protein, an egg or a slice of cheese, or if you're a vegetarian, you can have, a little tofu, or some nuts and seeds, some peanut butter on a rice cracker. but you need some protein in the morning to even out your mood and be resistant to stress. So let's see what else. Certainly minimize the intake of sugar and try not to have sugary or salty snacks. If you do have a snack in the morning or the afternoon, have something green, a handful of almonds or celery with some peanuts on it, peanut butter, and that kind of thing. And the other big trick is not to eat 2 hours before bed, because then your digestion is only working part-time during the night, so you don't wake up with a good appetite and you're kind of groggy. And so just try to finish eating at least 2 hours before your usual bedtime. Are any of those things sound helpful?
Yes, absolutely, they do. I started drinking hot water with lemon in the mornings before I eat anything, and that has really been helping me with bowel movements and things like that. So I just need to stay consistent. That's my biggest problem, is consistency, because I'll start it and then for some reason I'll veer off and not do it one day, and then it turns into 2 days, and then I have to start all over again. So
yes, habits are so important, and just if you need to just put a few reminders around to wait till lunchtime, or to take your water first, put your glass out beside the refrigerator so you remember to take the water, and be more consistent. And again, it's so much of it is attitude and philosophy. I always recommend, before you even open your eyes in the morning, think what your day is going to be like, and promise yourself that you're going to have a good day, and decide ahead of time, what kind of meals you're going to have, and think positive that you got a beautiful body. It wants to be healthy, and you're going to take good care of it.
Absolutely. So when did family therapy come into play, and what did you want to achieve in this space?
Fun question. It started when friends started asking me, you seem to not be having any issues with your parenting. And it was when we were still in upstate New York. Our son was born, and then our daughter 2 years later. And I had friends who had babies about the same time, and they were having some breastfeeding issues and all these things. And I said, well, I don't have all the answers, but I know there's a group that does. So I said, let's all go to a little HA League meeting. And so I got excited about sharing at the meeting, and then people were really listening. So I'm like, well, maybe I have something to share. And so when we did come back to Philadelphia, I like I said, I worked in law for a year or two, but then I thought, well, I just got to write a parenting book, because people don't realize that if they focus on the natural bond with parent and child, and trust themselves as parents, and trust their baby to know what it needs, he or she, then things will go a lot more smoothly. And then if you do need help, then you need to reach out and not be embarrassed about it, and get to some groups, or now you can go online. That didn't even exist back then, but go online and check around for answers. But so much of it comes from your own attitude, having faith. And that's the first secret of my 7 secrets of successful parents, is believing in that parent-child bond. I mean, having a baby is new for every person who does it, but it's in our genes to make that work, because humans would have died out a long time ago if they didn't have proper instincts to take care of their babies. So there's an awful lot of buildup of real skills that are in there if we just pay attention to them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I love your the different points that you have about parenting. I read through those and I really love them.
Thanks.
So you started doing the family therapy thing by a way of writing a book. So my next question was going to be, you have written 8 books on parenting and healthy family life. Was the parenting book your first book? And if it was, tell us how the other books that followed came about.
Oh, sure. Yeah, my first book was called You Can Postpone Anything But Love. And I came up with the title. The titles usually write my books for me. And I came up with it when I was driving home, just finishing up that federal grant I was working on for the legal part. And I really wanted to be with my kids because they were growing up fast, and he was 3, she was 1. And I thought, you can postpone anything but love. You can put off your career, you can put off, whatever. But raising kids is critical. And so that was the beginning, the first book. And actually, I had enough readers that I started getting people calling me saying, well, can you counsel me? And I said, well, it's all in the book. But they said, no, I want you to handhold me because of my own special challenges. And so that led to speaking and counseling. And I went to a conference where a publisher asked me to write another parenting book specifically for parents that came from dysfunctional families. So since my family did have its challenges, I was able to write my second book, Adult Children Raising Children. And then the third parenting book came about because when the kids were a little older, I wanted to use more examples from the older ages. My first book was, I actually wrote it when my children were about 7 and 5. So as they moved into teenage years, I thought, well, I want to use some older examples. So that's where the 7 Secrets for Successful Parents came about. And in all of them, I always included a big part on having your kids be healthy, because in my counseling practice, I found that so many problems disappeared if the kids had protein for breakfast and got enough sleep and got enough hugs and drank their water, just some real simple things that made their bodies respond better to their minds and their moods better. So there was less irritability in the family and everybody would get along better. So then I've written some other books on health, directly on health and weight loss. And also when my mom died, I wrote a book about how to deal with that when mothers lose mothers. So, and we also, my husband and I wrote a fun book about a cat from our cat's point of view, because we travel back and forth from our Pennsylvania house to our California house, and our cat made at least a dozen trips with us. So she had a lot to say. So that's a fun book as well. And kids love it.
What do you think is the glue that keeps your family intact and keep you guys happy and everything working positively?
That's a big question, but I think communication is absolutely key, and it's about again trusting the relationship so that you can listen without saying, oh, I got to solve that problem, or I got to give them an answer, I got to tell them, give them advice. You need to listen and also be very clear what you think, because it's so easy for kids to figure out how to manipulate. If you give them a quick answer, they're like, they think up good, logical, rational reasons why that isn't the answer. So you need to listen and think, well, what is it that I really am not comfortable with here? If they say they want to go to a certain party or something. That's one of the examples I used in my book. And you can come up with solutions if you listen and ask questions. Well, why do you want to go? Who's going to be there? How does that make you feel? And eventually most kids, and most of the time, they will come up with their own solution. they'll say, oh, well, I don't really like those kids that much. Or, she told me your mom was going to be there, but she lies a lot. All of a sudden, they will solve their own problems if you're validating them by really listening and trusting that they can come up with their own answers. And also, if they don't, by the end of you really listening, they might even say, hey, Mom, what do you think? So it's about patience and trust and good communication. The other thing that's so critical in a family is celebrating, just letting your kids know that you enjoy them. Well, thank you for cleaning up your room, or thank you for taking out the trash, or I'm glad you finished your vegetables today. Just real simple things, catch them being good.
Yeah, I like it. I have a friend who is really good at that with her children. And she always says to me, like her daughter is 18 now, but she's finishing up high school this year. And she's like, she's 18. I can't tell her no. I can just have the conversation with her and try to get her to think, and make the right decisions. So what you're saying is so spot on. And I've seen my girlfriend do this, and I just love the way she parents. I think it's really effective. And I hope that I'm skilled enough to do that when my daughter gets to a certain age, because right now she's only 11, but I try to do that without being too forceful and opinionated and, all of those other things that make the conversation go left,
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I remember I took a lot of mental notes when I was a kid. And when I was 14, I said to myself, my parents they're basically done their job. I know bad from good, good from bad. I know who I am. I believe I can make it through life. And I actually told them that, and they just thought it was so cute and sweet. but I remembered that. I thought, I'm going to remember that when my kids are 14, that they're as big as I am at 14, and you can't really push them around and tell them what to do. You need to be there for them as a guide and a brainstorming partner and a resource, but you can't really, push them around anymore. Yeah. So it's stood me in good stead remembering that.
Yeah, that's really good advice. So you have a lot of different passions, which is fabulous, because doing this podcast, I have learned that you can do a variety of things that you're passionate about, right? It's never just one thing, or it doesn't have to be one thing. And purpose-driven work can be found in many different things. So how do you make time to do all of the things that you love and take care of yourself and spend time with your family, and also, give your all to each thing that you're invested in?
That's a great question, Keisha. I think it's passion, really. It's just loving life, loving my family, loving my clients and readers, just feeling really alive, everything I do. My husband and I have a long routine in the morning. We're constantly learning. We read aloud after breakfast to each other for about 15 minutes. Whatever book we choose, we take continuing ed courses. And then I know I keep lists, and I plan my day to get things done that I want to get done. And, I'm always cogitating on another book or another course that I can teach, or things I want to send out in my blog or my podcast. And it's an exciting life, because I do think when I learn stuff, I want to pass it on. I think we're all here for each other. And so I'm passionate about doing that. And I think that's one of the important things for people to realize, that you can do things you're passionate about. Even if you have sort of an ordinary, boring job, there's so much else you can do, especially with the internet. If you have some special wisdom or special passion, you can just get online and blog and write for Medium, or have a YouTube channel, and, just 10 minutes a day, just spout off what you really think is your passion. It's an exciting time to be alive. I know we're all feeling kind of shut in and restricted and confused and insecure in this COVID-19 era, but it's also an opportunity to look again at your real priorities and what really makes you feel most alive and passionate and grateful.
Yes, I agree. Are you resting when you feel tired, Randy?
Oh, that's an important thing. You need to get rest. We take a walk outdoors every day, and we actually sleep 8 to 9 hours every night. And people say, oh, that's such a waste of time. But if you have all the energy you need all day, it's worth getting the sleep at night. And don't watch the 11 o'clock news before bed, because it's usually disturbing. Right. So plan to have routine bedtimes and really do yourself the honor of letting your mind and body rest. Yeah, we do mostly outdoors, and at night we're getting our rest. That's an important question for sure.
Good. Yeah, I have discovered that the older that I get, there are certain things that I cannot watch or listen to before I go to bed. My husband seems to be the opposite. He can watch anything, listen to anything, and then go to sleep, but I cannot. So I can't watch the news. I can't watch violence. I can't watch anything like that, hours before I go to bed. It disturbs my sleep and just my mental. So pay attention to that, guys, because I think it's important, when you go to bed, what you have in your subconscious, So
yeah, and just knowing yourself. Yeah. If he does all right with that, that's fine. But if different, then you need to honor yourself, do what works for you. And, partners are usually different, opposites tend to attract. I've written a whole book on that as well, the 4 temperaments. And so you need to, if you're both healthy, you can find the compromises on your habits and your routines that will work for both of you. There's plenty of options so that it can work for both of you.
Yeah, I try to watch happy stuff before bed or fun stuff, and I tell him he cannot watch this stuff with me in the room.
Yeah, when we're going to watch a movie, we decide together whether it's going to be a happy, rom-com movie, or if it's going to be adventure or war movie or something. We pick and choose when that's going to be, and if it's not going to be right before I go to bed. No.
Right. So how do you define success?
Well, I love the definition I heard: the progressive realization of your passion. So it's a process, feeling you're in momentum towards your goals. And so you might define it as your income, but you also might define it about how happy you feel all day, or when you wake up, or when you're saying goodnight at night. So it's really about knowing that you're doing what you're called to do, I think. Feeling passionate about life. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. So here on the Oh Hell No podcast, I always ask my guests to share an Oh Hell No moment that taught them something, changed their perspective on something, or just changed their life altogether. We have oh hell no moments daily, right? Because they're just moments where you're in shock about something that transpired. So share a moment with us that really, had an impact on your life?
Oh, I've had a couple of them actually, but probably the most dramatic one was when my husband and I started dating in college. I was a freshman and he was a senior, just about to go on to law school. And as I said, my parents had some issues. They both suffered from alcoholism, and they just couldn't get the idea that I was ready to fall in love. And they were upset that he wasn't wealthy and didn't go to the right schools. He just went to a public school instead of a private school. So anyhow, they forbade me to see him. And I said, hell no, this is my future. I have to make it for myself. So we actually dated clandestinely for 3 years in college. And he would invite a friend to come pick me up and then drop me off at the end of the date because I was still living at home that year. And oh, hell no. I thought, if you really wanted me to be happy, I have to do what I know in your hearts you want. And maybe you think I'm going the wrong way, but I know that this is what's going to make me happy. So it was the first time I'd ever lied to my parents or deceived them in any way. So it was a huge decision, but I knew I had to look forward and make my own way. And I just told myself that, if you weren't so screwed up about these things, you would just want me to be happy. And that's what I've got to do. So that was definitely a oh hell no moment for me. Wow. And it made us really strong. We had to do some we had to really work hard to be together. And I think that's one reason that we've done so well. March will be married 52 years. So it's a great trip.
Wow, that's amazing. Congratulations.
Thanks. And my parents did eventually come around. They were like, oh, this is working for you. Okay. And they really fell in love with my husband when they got to know him.
Good. See, sometimes you do know. Well,
yep.
It was great having you on the show, Randy. Please tell everyone where they can connect with you, where they can purchase your books. We want to know.
Sure. Yeah, of course, they're all on Amazon and there's ebooks and so on. My main website is randyrolfe.com, and that's Randy with a Y, and Rolfe is Rolfe. And it's the same John Rolfe that married Pocahontas back in Virginia 400 years ago. And so that's it, randyrolfe.com. And I also have a Facebook page with regular videos on vibrant health through natural living. And all my books are available on my website as well. And a whole lot of podcasts for radio show I did for a couple of years, interviews with people on all kinds of topics relating to parenting. And also I have a YouTube channel as well. So hopefully you can find my stuff.
Absolutely. We'll be checking for it.
At T-Mobile for Business, unconventional thinking means we see things differently, so you can focus on what matters most. That's why we've become the leader in 5G, number one in customer satisfaction, and a partner who includes 5G in every plan, so you get it all. Unconventional thinking is better for business. Open Signal awards T-Mobile as America's fastest 5G network USA. 5G user experience report July 2021. Capable device required. Coverage not available in some areas. Some uses may require certain plan or features. See T-Mobile.com. For JD Power 2020 award information, visit jdpower.com/awards.
Does everyone need customer support today?
We've got you. Intercom has the tools to manage support at any scale, like integrations, bots, and more. All in one powerful platform. We'll even automatically resolve 33% of your support volume, so you have more time for customers who need you most.
Oh, that's better.
Supercharge your team's productivity and make your customers super happy with Intercom. Learn more at intercom.com/support.